I mean, Gwen ban coming out from this one, I would expect the Lee Sin first pick to come through just because of how explosive we know this pick can be between the junglers here. We've even seen it from other players like Hacker as well that we'll be seeing later today. And there we go. The Lee Sin pan, or pick rather, just comes through here. And yes, it is potentially still a triple flex, but it is just a champion that does fairly better to watch a jungle right now, just in case of how this meta is aligned. And then from Rogue Warriors, they're still going with the Camille pick here for Sett.
They're going to rinse and repeat. What we talked about with Rogue Warriors is that their drafts, you know, Game 2, Game 3 of IG, a perfect example with only one of those picks changing. This time around, it has to be at least the same here with Xiaohao not getting the Lee Sin, and he's been banned the Olaf too. But for Rogue Warriors, do what you did in game number 1. Give Betty controlling lane, give ZDZ the ability to side lane, and they've done exactly that once more.
Yeah, and there's not really a lane that can, realistically speaking, just punish the 6 immediately. I was actually watching some Challengers Korea yesterday, and what they did is they would actually putting APCoke more into the 6 to kind of counter the 6 pressure you have instead. But Suning's kind of style, that's going to be the early aggression in the laning phase, coming in with the Kalista, and you can opt out for the Nautilus, you can go for the Sett, you can go for the Thresh. There is so many engaged champions you can pair up with this Kalista.
Thresh so powerful, right? You get a hook as well, you can travel with Ziggs. Maybe Dredge line seems safer for someone like On and doesn't want to kind of risk it. So Thresh left up, strong 2v2, which we know here, Guldborg, means that Suning are angling to play towards bot side.
Yeah, 100%. And remember from last draft, there wasn't really any priority whatsoever on towards the Thresh here. Now with such an engaged heavy bot lane coming through from Suning, you could see some disengage on towards Rogue Warrior, but we've also talked about that recipe for Rogue Warriors, what they always need. And it's that instantaneous engage we see. It's the easy accessibility for a fight. And there you go. The Sett, once again, might come through for Chocho still.
They know. I mean, they just know. They've got the recipe together and they don't want to peter off from it too far. I love it. Rogue Warriors, again, continuing what we expected. And let's talk about bans coming through in the second phase, because it's important to note in game number 1, there are a lot of support bans through. But this time around, you already mentioned the Sett, probably most likely going back to Chocho in the bottom lane. So it's solo laners that are still wanting here from both of our teams.
Yeah, and all the bans are already coming out. The Jax ban already. I wonder if they're going to get rid of the Bin Camille, not Bin Fiora, once again. Just because, yes, it did not have the highest potential in the team fight, but you still got a glimpse of how close and how scary that Fiora became from the laning phase in the beginning. So on the other side, obviously for Suning, you already picked your own jungler. You can start taking away all the junglers that should be available for Rogue Warriors. And once again, the ease of execution, try to remove it. They're removing the Diana, who can just pile on towards you.
But Diana, the Xin Zhao already gone, the Olaf, pull's going down quite a bit here. I wonder if we return to something like the Udyr, something that can have the early influence and match the skirmishing. Because for Rogue Warriors, options are running out really fast.
They are, especially when you want to go for that AD mid laner as well. If that's what you're looking for, realistically speaking, this Sett is still a flex, but obviously you have the AP in the 6 towards the bot lane. So you can go for AP in the jungle if that's what you want. You can go for AD in the jungle as well. But as you said yourself, loads of junglers from this meta has already been banned out. The Xin Zhao, the Olaf, the Diana, and you're starting to wonder what is left to actually ban out. And I think Suning had the same conclusion and said, you know what, let's get rid of the Silas then.
Also note, quite a couple of mid lane bans here. As you just mentioned, Silas, I wanted to point out the Twisted Fate. Something like the Galio is still available if Angel wanted to pilot that and all pile in. Guldborg, last time we cast, you used the word dogpile quite a lot. Can do it quite easily with the Kalista composition here, so I'm going to keep my eyes out for that. While Rogue Warriors changing it up a little bit here with the Viego, which we're now assuming that Sett definitely back down to support.
Yeah, but on red side here, there's still the flexibility. The Viego can be a jungler. Lane Viego was nerfed, but jungle Viego was not nerfed either. So, you know, the Sett can go mid, he can go support. The Viego can go jungle, he can go mid. So this becomes kind of tough from the side of Suning to get that one counter pick on blue side on towards the mid lane here. So they can't really get that. But what they do get instead is the Fiora up towards the top side of the map.
Yeah.
Now, this can be a bit scary just because of the fact that you have a Kalista and Nautilus. They usually want to be played for, but you also have the Fiora that kind of wants to be played for. So you are left in this split map situation where, yes, if it goes well for Suning, they can take over the entire map. But if one lane starts to falter and that's your winning lane, you might be in for a bit of a roller coaster.
Especially with the Zoe that we can dive into a little bit and how it fits into this composition, because they're looking at the Galio, didn't want to lock it in, and instead we have a lot of strength throughout the individual lanes, while on Rogue Warriors, still the same methodology. The Ryze locked in last. That means at this point in the game, we do have the Viego, as you talked about, in the jungle, and a lot of wave clear, a lot of pressure for Forge in the mid lane as well. A lot of ability power burst, as we saw in game 1.
Yeah, and I want to talk priority here because that is essentially what it's going to come down to this time around. The Ryze will still have an easier time getting in towards this mid lane before Zoe's capable of just one-shotting the back line with her paddle star. But the durability, the 2v2 is still there for them when you have the Lee Sin. If you land a bubble on towards Forge, he should be dead from the amount of mixed damage you get from the Lee Sin and the Zoe in the early game. You want to be able to skirmish around priority, but specifically, you want to be able to get the Kalista ahead. You want to be able to make sure that this is a carry that is ahead of the curve. Because if Kalista falls behind on towards the mid game, she's never going to be able to do what she wants to do just because Ziggs is going to do so much damage from afar where they'll never be able to get to him.
And Ziggs versus Zoe is a matchup where, I know we're not seeing it directly in the lane, but as the game goes later, you predict where the portal jump is. You can set up a satchel charge, you can set up the Hextech explosives, the minefield, and a Mega Inferno bomb. There's a lot of bursts that you can predict against Zoe. So I like the Ziggs here, and I like the fact that Rogue Warriors have essentially, Guldborg, run a similar composition with even more scaling this time, right? Viego in the jungle, we know it scales exceptionally well.
It is just a recipe for success, and you talk about the scaling, the early Viego skirmishing power, it's also there for him. He is one of the stronger champions from level 3, just because of that passive he gets from the Q, just because a bit of that lifesteal you get, just because of the attack speed, the stun. There's so much in your kit that helps you out in these small skirmishes, so I'm definitely looking on towards the junglers in the early game, but once again, we want the Kalista to be facilitated, and we want the Fiora to maybe just be left alone in the Camille, have that push priority on the self, put a small amount of vision on towards the Fiora just to keep him safe, but keep most of your pressure towards the bot side.
Because SofM always loves paying towards top, and if you're going to leave him alone, then it goes against what we saw, well, even what we in game 1 we didn't see SofM playing hard top. We saw him pathing up, knowing Bin was pushing in the wave, and then looking elsewhere like this bottom wave. Here for Suning, once again, SofM will watch his pathing closely. Welcome to Summoner's Rift for game number 2. Guldborg, I want to pick up quickly because Suning's draft, I feel like we can also do a little bit more justice. You talked about the strong 2v2, and that to me tells me that not only with bottom wave, but with mid, you have good options here for Suning. I'd say even better than what we saw in game 1.
Yeah, but for mid lane, it kind of comes down to who's first on the ball there, because if you're Suning and you land a bubble, yeah, great, obviously you're going to be the one coming out ahead, but if you're Forge and Xiao Hao, who's able to layer the Rune Prison together with the stun from Viego, well, that's just going to be tough for you as well. So it kind of comes down to who got the vision control, who's able to start the skirmish, who's just one-shot the opponent before they're able to strike back. That's kind of the nature of the 2v2 there in the mid lane.
I'll be excited to watch it, though. Who strikes first feels like the beginning of something very exciting through our game number 2. Just note where junglers are for the start of this game, folks. We looked at a bottom side start before in game number 1 as trading onto Chocho. Halo Blade's procced here by Huanfeng and a good Ren, but On has taken half his HP, still hasn't popped a pot, and will be in danger if Rogue Warriors hit 2 first, but I don't think that's likely. Huanfeng and On still aggressive, while Betty tries to bouncing bomb.
But you also see that there, right? That is the weak side of the Jinx, not Jinx, but Ziggs rather, where you're able to just stand away from afar, kind of like an Ezreal, and just last hit the minions with the bouncing bombs you get out there. That's the objective for it, and this time around with Sett, he said, haven't played the laning phase against Fiora once. It feels like he's on a bit of a better foot this time around, because last time, I swear, he was already pushed in his lane and lost half his HP. So maybe the adaptation here, after having played the Fiora the first time, is going to do him a bit better dividends than it did in the first game.
His laning phase was so hard. I mean, getting pushed out, level 2 first here for Bin, but this time around, ZDZ managing the wave a lot better, and quite an even wave so far. They both hit level 3 as well, so watch for the all-in potential. And again, that hook shot, wall shot, the W combination that Bin can play with, as ZDZ will continue pushing out the wave. Junglers, again, want to pay quick attention here, because you did say it was about the jungle attention in the early game. SofM a little bit quicker on the clear, but Suning's bottom lane are hard shoving once more against Betty and Chocho.
It's not necessarily that he's quicker, it's just the fact that SofM decided to skip a camp here where you can see Xiaohao, he's just took the Gromp, still haven't taken his blue buff, and now bot lane priority, mid lane priority coming down here. We could see a potential dive. You don't want to do that against Sett though. SofM coming behind here from Xiaohao.
Angel stole a smite. What? Oh my god, this champion. He picks up the Scuttle Crab, and for some reason, Zoe had an early smite because Zoe thinks, and now a flash.
And there we just go. They're just able to steal away the Scuttle from the side of Xiaohao. SofM should be able to make his way up towards the top side of the map. And Xiaohao does not have smite, but is not feeling himself to contest it. At the same time in the bottom lane, lots of skirmishing already in this early game.
Well, Huanfeng and On still bullying them out. 10 CS lead down here as well. While Xiaohao now spotted on a ward coming out of that brush, I believe. Maybe he came from the top side. Have to correct myself, but hovering around the wave as On looks for the setup once again, but Chocho with a face breaker, haymaker, and he returns once more. Rogue Warriors want that flash to be mute as On gets away by the thick of his skin, but now into the W. Huanfeng moving back in the wave. He wants the cannon and feels confident knowing that he can get the reset.
Yeah, they're not going to go for it. He needs to get out of the map as soon as possible. You can already see the positioning of SofM. He's out stealing away the camps because Xiaohao went for that bot side gank.
Well, ZZ going for the fight in the SofM in the top side. In the meanwhile, he was pushed so far against his turret. He's down in 20 CS, but note that about 15 of that in front of us right now. And he will get cannon, which is always a feels good man. And Bin's just going to back away. So, a little bit of action. No kills so far in this early game, Guldborg. But I do love that Suning this time around are playing through more priority. That's what you wanted to see. That's what we wanted to talk about. There has been priority through mid, through bot. And this Lee Sin pick is so good at acting on it.
And that priority should lead to a better objective start from the side of Suning this time around, where they'll actually be able to get the first Drake. Because bot lane so far, they have been able to push it in. Towards the mid lane as well, it has been Angel on the Zoe, who's continuously keeping this lane soft. So as soon as SofM is done finishing his blue side camps, we should potentially see Suning start setting up that first Drake as an objective, because they just have all the priority around it.
I like that Chocho going for a deep lens here to make sure that as part of that setup, Rogue Warriors are not getting completely blinded out, are not getting tracked through their own jungle. Chocho moving back to the wave and vision now cleared off, but no dragon started. It is SofM towards the top side crossing over, while Xiaohao has topside camps to clear, and more importantly, a wave that from Bin's angle continuously pushes in. So there is an opportunity there if this Viego wants to get in.
Very unlucky. The Raptor ward from Suning just ran out, so not actually spotting Xiaohao going up, but that doesn't matter. Sett.
Oh, it doesn't, because Bin with the solo kill flashing on in the Hextech ultimatum. Better late than never, but it is still a solo first blood. While TP in, Viego in as well. Against the wall, Bin kiting away the Realm Warp just in case. It's a 1-for-1, but Bin smacking him down with his sword.
I am not too sure what Sett was doing. Huanfeng, or Xiaohao rather, was on the way up there because they were just going to trade that. They realized Suning was doing the Drake, so they're not going to contest it. They wanted to attack top instead. But Sett jump in way too early and just completely butchered that play. And Suning, they're able to get the first blood, and they're able to get the Drake for themselves. They get what they want of the map from the entirety of the Summoner's Rift.
Such a great start. Bin even has his TP available and able to get back to the top side before it crashes in. So he gets the kill. He still has the lead. Meanwhile, on the bottom lane, On in a bit of trouble. The satchel charge sends him the other way, though. Means he's able to get out. More action continues here, and you mentioned the dragon being taken. Now, Guldborg, I'm looking towards the top side setup here for Herald, because in about 45 seconds as it spawns, I want to see these supports start moving and see what we saw in game one, which was a big fight, as we'll look at the solo kill once again.
I'm not too sure what the
advantage.
idea were there for Sett. You know, we get the pro view, he hook shots in, and it just looks like an easy dub from the side of Bin, where he's just like, what are you doing? Why are you going on me?
But Bin was level 5. ZD was level 6, so who cares about level 6 here for the Camille? As you're right, easy dubs at that. I want to come back, though. We are looking at a Herald again. Let's walk into this one, Guldborg, because with the early advantage that Suning have been able to pick up through their lanes, it feels like the setup shouldn't be too hard for a team that has top priority, that will have mid priority, that has bot priority as well, to say the least.
Yeah, I wonder what kind of rotations we're going to get through this one as well, because it looks like both teams, they want to move their supports up towards the map. But I wonder if they're going to be putting their AD carries up there. And no, it will be looking like we're going to get that 4v4 situation. And I think that could actually potentially benefit the side of Rogue Warriors. You won't have the side of the Fate call from the Kalista. You have the Xiao Viego to skirmish around, and the Sett here on still no flash. So I actually think Rogue Warrior, if they want to, have potential to try and go for this one, but with no priority goal walking into it, it seems like they're just going to forfeit the objective.
They are, and bet he's going to go back for the wave. Was thinking about walking up, spotted on a ward, but wraps back around. And Huanfeng doing the same, moving back to his wave. So CS will be evened out in the bottom side, but the Herald is still a very big move here, still a very big advantage. A lot of lanes to play through this time for Suning, where they can net a huge gold lead and build up the momentum that's already started.
Yeah, you got two ways of doing it. We talked earlier about how you can both play towards the Fiora, but you can also go towards the bottom lane of the map and play towards this Kalista, where it seems like Rogue Warrior finally in position where they can push up far forward. But with this second Herald, you want to see it in a side lane. You want to see it enable a second push onto one of the tier 2 turret, just because of how much more gold that gives. But you can see Xiao, he is anticipating some action down towards the bottom lane, and he is moving down towards here. They should know this from the side of Suning, because SofM, he's on the top side.
Top. But On doesn't care, he just walks into it anyway, but Fate's call, such a good safety net. Huanfeng pulls the trigger and On takes a couple of bouncing bombs for his return. Still on the top side, that means for Suning, they know that 100% this Herald play, this push, whatever it ends up being, is going to be safe.
Oh, but they're so smart about it. They don't want to open up the top side just yet. We're only 9 minutes into the game.
Okay.
So if you open up the laning phase away from Sett, and he's able to just freeze the lane, that's going to be way tougher for Suning to actually punish. Keeping Sett under his tower in a short lane is way better for Bin in this case scenario. And that's why they're not opting into just getting the free turret. They want to force Sett away. They want to starve him from the resources that Bin has been able to do so far with.
And they'll know that it was the right call to back away at the end of the day, considering that SofM is now on a ward. A deep ward that was placed in Rogue Warrior's very triumphant push that was able to pick up 3 turret platings for the Ziggs. So I like the little push and pull that we're seeing here over the game. It means that in the top side, there were 3 plates taken by Bin, and the difference is that the Fiora now has a Mythic, was able to pick them up solo importantly as well, in comparison to the 3 members of Rogue Warriors that benefited on the bottom side.
Yeah, and you'd always love to see that Herald is used together with some sort of mid lane priority. So Angel, as you can see now, has pushed in the mid lane and is already making his way up towards the top side of the map. He doesn't have to necessarily go for it completely, but he'll just have to go into the fog of war, making Sett have to respect the fact that Zoe is no longer in lane. And that gives just all the priority back onto what's Bin. There's nothing Sett can do. You can see how far on the mini-map he's had to move back just because he didn't see the Zoe. Now he sees the Zoe, now he feels complacent enough to walk forward again.
And we watch him walk back into lane with the wave pushing up. Good timing here from Suning. But note there is a TP advantage here for ZDZ as the Dragon number 2 is coming up. In 20 seconds time, we'll see what Suning want to do, because Bin has stuck around, picked up yet another piece of turret plating. He is stronger here with about a 20 CS lead and then some. We have to see how Rogue Warriors adjust, because pings are going down, Dragon up in 5 seconds.
Yeah, but only almost 3/4 of this Rift Herald has been gone. And there you go, SofM just using it to gain the pressure around this next Drake. I do believe they had the pressure anyway, but they're just going to go for this so they can secure some plating on towards the mid lane turret and then walk towards the Drake afterwards.
Angel benefiting off that. Nice piece of gold for him as well. And Forge stuck in the mid wave, even with the Realm Warp. You know, it's quite dangerous as Chocho, speaking of danger, walks into the whole team. Haymaker hasn't even come out until the Troll Bubble hits. He's down for the count. And Xiao now walks right alongside with him, but a Sonic Wave ends with a Resonating Strike. And Suning 2 quick kills to lead to the second Drake.
There's just Rogue Warriors being in position they really shouldn't have been in. They had no priority whatsoever. Rift Herald had already come through from the mid lane, and they were not in a position to get up with the fight here. And to make matters worse, they lose the fight, and Bin is still wreaking havoc on this Fiora. I still don't understand why they left it open after having seen already how tough the matchup were for Sett in game 1. It was literally the only game lane losing.
And when we use your keyword that you talked about, the word of priority, Suning having that in more lanes this time around, means that the Fiora can continue pushing up. There's so many lanes on fire that Xiaohao, as a scaling Viego, isn't going to be able to immediately deal with. The Lee Sin as well, adding texture to that draft we see out of Suning. Much better responses here, much better early game. A game that's in control as Rogue Warriors walk right into the thick of the Hornet's nest.
Yeah, they walked into it. They had the charge up for the stun on the Viego, but Forge wasn't in the area to actually commit if they went. So as soon as the Sett was caught out of position there from Chocho, I mean, there is just go time for them. They do get a turret for themselves, but this is not first turret of the game for the Ziggs. No. It is the second, as Bin has already dominated the top side, as we've talked about already so much, and he's only going to get scarier, because this time around, Rogue Warriors are not in a position where they have the Drake on their side. They're not in a position where they can pressure Suning to walk into you. This time around, they can keep the split push up with Bin, and that makes this Fiora so much more scarier than we saw in game 1.
Reacting to the tempo here in this second game is going to be a difficult task, even with the Ryze, even with the Ziggs. Knowing that these one-item champions are going to be blasting away and destroying the fight before any backup can get there. I'm talking about Angel on the Zoe, Huanfeng on the Kalista as well, which are about to pick up their mythics. Things starting to get real scary as we hit the 14-minute mark here, and you were just talking about Bin with the 30 CS lead. I mean, he's got a Tiamat almost towards Ravenous Hydra before the Divine Sunderer is complete here on ZDZ. Look at the gold lead. That's almost 2,000 gold at 40 minutes in top lane alone.
And that is absolutely insane. We talked a lot about the other pressure of the rest of the map, so you'd think that was where they would have got something done, but no, they haven't been able to chip the outer turrets down yet. They haven't been able to work with the pressure just yet. I'm starting to expect them to do so very soon. Let the Zoe push in the mid lane, move towards the bottom lane, and Rogue Warrior, they realize this as well, so they've moved Betty back towards the mid lane, but he is alone, and he needs to be careful if the wave flow is not coming through. It does come through. It is obviously a 6. So we're still going to have this bit of a stalemate where both teams right now just don't have the power to overforce a play immediately. They can't just go for a poke game immediately out of nowhere, but they are moving all 5 members on towards this mid lane. But there you go. The wave clear from 6 is making it very difficult for Suning to excel with the pressure they have right now.
But I like that they just move straight towards the Herald. They go, okay, fine. Ziggs going to clear the mid wave. We're not going to find anything for now, but the second Herald, that should be able to charge out one of these side turrets, or even the mid-outer turret as we were watching before. Seems like a very easy task to go from here from Suning. They all reset. They know that Rogue Warriors can't move into their deep vision setup, so another power play by Suning, who have really picked up the pace in this second game and have looked so much more convincing than the game 1 travesty we saw that started with the first Herald.
It's almost like playing with priority lanes are easier than having no lanes to play for with a Trundle.
Who knows?
But I'm not too sure though. I'm not too sure. I'm not going to make such a bold statement just yet. But we can clearly see this time around with the amount of pressure that Suning has, it is way easier for them to play. And now with Rift Herald, obviously you're correct. You can use that for a side lane. You can use it to open up the turrets. You can wait 1 minute and 30 seconds to gain that as a 6-man advantage towards the Drake. That is going to be soul point for Suning. Now, this is Cloud Drake, so it's not as bad as the Infernal Soul was earlier in our series, but still nonetheless, it's lovely to have the ultimate cooldown on towards. Actually, it doesn't matter all too much on the champion of Suning. I'll be quite honest with you.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I mean, what portal jump is an extra 0.2 seconds? Probably not going to line up with the second Paddle Star, so you're right. Fate's Call Depth Charge, I'd say probably the most impactful there. We'll see as Bin is about to be dove now. Bin always the target for teams in the LPL. We remember watching this at Worlds. A lot of people wanted to keep this top laner down. And Rogue Warriors now here with the Ryze, the Camille, bring in their side laners together to try and get more on the map. While for Suning, it is just yet another trade.
And there we go. They have the Rift Herald, so opting in for the side lane tempo swap here is not really going to benefit you. They should be able to pick up the 2 turrets, and actually, I'm not too sure. The rotations have come through kind of fairly quick from Rogue Warriors. So yeah, I think the charge will come down, but I don't think they're going to be able to take down the rest of the turrets afterwards.
Big minion wave though. Angel doing quite a bit of damage as a nice trouble bubble off the back end, but Angel not going to commit here with the Paddle Star. I want to note while we're seeing this that the Zoe does have Luden, so feeling very confident with the burst damage at this point in the game. And 190 CS at 17 minutes. So Angel very much in control and starting to play off some of these flanking angles that happen when the map gets deeper with Suning vision.
Yeah, he's so far ahead of the curve, but speaking of far ahead, the priority once again, just by Suning, has already been established. You can see the pink wards from every entrance towards the mid lane, towards the jungle, and even towards the bottom, where there is a pink ward in the bush, just to make sure that no freaky TPs will come through. This soul point should just go uncontested over to the side of Suning, and you can take a look at the rest of the map. It's not like Rogue Warriors are able to capitalize on this. There's no cross map for them to be had. There's no one on top side they can catch off guard. The jungle camps are still respawning, so they're getting absolutely nothing in the exchange of just being forced to play against Soul Point now.
Not like they can get a cheeky Baron or anything that'll bring this game back into fruition. Suning with almost 3,000 gold in the lead here in this game number 2. I'll be more accurate, 2,500, but still for RW, the next dragon is a moment where even if it is the Cloud Soul, you probably have to fight, right? And you're going to have almost 2 items on a lot of these carries for RW, while the definite 2 item point will be there for people like Angel, who just hit 200 CS. Huanfeng will have his half-bound axe evolved as well. And a Tiamat that's turned into a Ravenous Hydra. That happened a couple of minutes ago here for Bin.
Yeah, I can't wait for a Game 1 MVP to just, absolutely stomp this Fiora in a side lane. Oh, wait. That's not how the matchup goes. My bad.
Sett MVP?
Obviously move forward. Whoa! Okay. That's the damage you talk about there, Hysterics.
Yep.
That is the Luden's Echo being finished off together with the needlessly large rod. And that is the poke and siege potential that Rogue Warrior, they will have to endure at least on towards the next Baron spawn, or at least on towards the next Drake spawns, because that's the objective that Suning will be looking for. And as Suning right now, you don't mind all too much stalling out the game, because you are the one who likes to open up the map now. You are the one who's putting pressure into a side lane that you can move around.
Look at Angel. I mean, the deep vision, he doesn't care behind enemy lines. And when this mid turret goes down, just look at what's going to happen. Angel always at threat, especially with the minion wave that can take turret. And Suning able to do what they want. Turret doesn't go down, but still having full control of the map at this point. They continue to take every resource that they like. 3 minutes till that Dragon Soul, guys. Here for Suning. It is going to be the Cloud Soul as a reminder. Baron up in 5 seconds as well. And this is not a slow Baron team, especially if Fiora joins in. You have Rend, you have a Lee Sin and a Zoe. It is not the fastest, but definitely not upon the slowest ones.
No, but this is where we'll feel the pressure from Suning as well. They just gave over the blue buff to the Zoe. They gave over the red buff to the Kalista. So this is where they want to excel at that pressure. And you can see they pushed out the mid lane, and now they're moving up towards the top side.
Respect flash. Nicely done from Forge, but he knew he was dead there with SofM on the wing. They're making a response onto Bin, who doesn't pay the same respect bottom wave. But as the TP comes through, Rogue Warriors want a full commit, but the grand challenge, Bin doesn't care. Heartbreaker away. The subtle charge almost griefed, but Bin will go down. Rogue Warriors with a good pick, but nothing's up barred the Baron, while Suning start putting momentum down. There's a good Realm Warp over the wing. They're all in. Rogue Warriors relying on Betty to do the damage. It's Chocho once again. Great backline access. The Haymaker not fully charged up as Angel now joins in onto Chocho, who's going to be rendered to death. Huanfeng says, see you later, and Suning send it right back.
They're still trying to go at the poke here, but it seems like that is just going to be all she wrote. That was a 5v4 situation from Rogue Warrior as well after that exchange, but they're just not able to pick up the kills. Unfortunately for them, may actually not have been 4v5. What happened to Sett? I'm actually not too sure. Seems like he was just being blown up in that team fight as well.
He was. I mean, back end had something nice to say, but then, yeah, Suning finding 2 kills at the end of the day kind of hurts after Rogue Warriors built momentum off of the Bin kill. And Suning now even further ahead in gold. It's something surprising to talk about, and something I thought Rogue Warriors were just going to take away the game and probably bring it back from there, to be quite honest, as we look at Bin getting caught out once again.
Yeah, it's just going to be the replay to come through here. And just a bit disrespectful. The entirety of his team is committing to a play off towards the top side of the map. They're not able to pick up Xiaohao after the reset to come through. And now, this is 5 members moving up towards 3. Sooner fall as soon as Zoe joins the fight. But they're just not able to get this done. A great kick to come through, and it seems like, yeah, there we go. Sett just burning down to the Ignite instead. So this fight, it's so scattered. They're just not able to get the damage down on towards one person. Although it's some nice damage from Betty on towards multiple people, they didn't have the execute as the Heart Render was on cooldown.
I like the Nord Hook coming through. ZDZ goes in, but interrupted there by Dredgeline. Depth charge on keeping the team alive, and unable to get a scatter from the Hextech ultimatum was so crucial there. So Rogue Warriors still behind in gold, and 30 seconds We've got a Dragon, we've got a Baron. Suning moving up towards the top side here, Guldborg, and we've got those two items we talked about. It feels like here for Rogue Warriors, you need something magical like a flank from ZDZ.
I mean, you need more than that. You need a miracle at this point in time. It's also on Suning to make a mistake, but you do still have the tools for it. There is some one-shot potential if you get one target locked down with the Rune Piston, with the Hectic Ultimatum. You have the 6 bombs in the background. You can see 2 items being picked up by Betty now. One of them, though, is the Morellonomicon, but that is going to deter them from getting some of that lifesteal through from the 2 Gore Drinkers, from the shield bow there is in the Kalista as well. And that may potentially be what they're looking for, but it just looks like they want to give over this soul. And in all honesty, they can. Yeah, soul is great for you, but this is not the game-losing play. The fact that Suning is suddenly with a Cloud Soul is not going to be the huge factor in that they're going to be winning this game.
Because we can mention if the game goes longer as well, even though Suning don't feel too bad here with tools like the Zoe, as that Trouble Bubble hits over the wall. Angel now set up, Chocho trying to block, but depth charge, Ziggs gets sent sky high. Doesn't die though. Somehow, some way, they weren't able to finish the touch.
And there we go. He just gets out with the skin of his teeth, but that should give all the priority over to the side of Suning once again. They can use this to push out the lanes, get their resets through, and then just keep up the pressure once again. Remember, they still haven't reset after getting this strike done, so now let's see what they pick up in their arsenal as well after they're able to get a few more gold orbs on towards the map, a few more camps as well, and it looked like it's just going to be a Dark Seal from Angel, really. He wanna get some more kills, possibly get into a Medjais. And on towards the side of Huanfeng, you can see he's starting up with the Rage Knife for the potential Rage Blade later into the game.
Yeah, I mean, he's already got the Wit's End, right? As SofM has a Sonic Wave, the Satchel Charge there. They're waiting for it. Times it with SofM, gets out, but into the backline, the Face Breaker gives over a kick to Xiao Hao. Chocho's ult was not it whatsoever. As Huanfeng with the Fate's Call, they want to dive, but they can't catch up. Suning with another pick, their jungler's still alive, and that means Baron will begin.
Yeah, but you're walking into the Baron pit against the like of a 6, and remember for Betty, he does still have his ultimate here, so if they're not careful, if they're not burning this down fast, they could be poked out in the pit.
It's watered. It's watered. They know what SofM's HP bar is. He's healing up from the Baron nicely, but Rogue Warriors are still going to walk on in. Hextech explosives on the ground as Bin is being the front line for now. Forge running forward on the Ryze. They're targeting Bin, who can't riposte. ZDZ in the back line as well, as Forge has to disengage. Betty still throwing bombs out, but the ultimate has been issued to ZDZ. Forge, where did he realm warp to? Right back to the mid lane. While SofM is low, the ulti already sent out from the Ziggs, and Suning only just get the Baron after a close call.
Yeah, it felt like the Mega Inferno Bomb came out on the wrong targets as well. There was nothing in the pick that was going on. Baron, when you start it up, it creates a debuff on you that lowers your magic resist when you're tanking it. So, had some of that 6 ability power from his spell gone on towards SofM, he might have been blown out. You might have forced some more flashes, but it went on to the targets with the stopwatch. And obviously, this is a hard fight to fight, seeing as you are 4v5, but getting it onto Bing, getting onto Angel with the stopwatch, it's just not going to do much. And then the fight, it just becomes incredibly scattered. Forge is like, all right, see you later, guys. That's a lost fight. I'm out of here. And from this point in time, there's nothing you can do.
They see him on a ward as well. I mean, it was actually a Rogue Warriors ward, excuse me. But nevertheless, Forge did peace out as Betty Satchel Charge. Going to be blocked here by the members of Rogue Warriors. But Chocho, fake flash, guys. Don't get worried. A little bit of fake news. Angel going to be backing off because Bin in the bottom lane with this Baron buff has so much agency. Priority, again, the key word, and Suning have lots of it in multiple lanes.
Well, they do. Hex Flash to come over here as well. Betty needs to be a bit careful, but this is just the pressure you're going to be feeling now. Bin with Baron buff in a side lane is just going to be gaining so much pressure, and he's going to be absorbing a lot of that, while the rest of his team can just be sieging down with the Zoe now.
But still quite a bit of wave clears. SofM goes in over the wall. Bit dangerous. Wanted the kick back on Betty, who doesn't have his flash available. And Bin will return to the wave. Look at topside, though, for Rogue Warriors. There's no threat in all 3 waves crashing in. But still, Suning don't have to care as the backline access is there once more. ZDZ takes a trouble bubble, and On's just walking in, Dredgeline into the inhibitor. He goes deep, but ZDZ chunked out the half immediately. Suning still going forward. Chocho ulting out with the Hextech Ultimate brings On in. A 2-man face breaker. On needs to die. Will give a reset over. The Xiaobao flushes On in, excuse me. Xiaobao's dead, though. The Heartbreaker doesn't matter. It was looking optimistic, but Betty's out of mana, and Rogue Warriors are out of options in game number 2.
And once again, the priority from the early game, it's what we talked about. It was just on the side of Suning this time around. We may see some swaps come through from Suning, or obviously Rogue Warriors going over to blue side. But for now, in game 2, it is Rogue Warrior Suning that strikes back on towards this one.
Let's keep fountain diving. Betty almost dies, but goes golden to save his grace as we go to a game 3, an unexpected game 3, a 2-banger, game 1 and game 2s.
And you know, it goes back to the draft as well. You get the Camille, you go to the second ban phase, you don't ban out the Fiora. It feels a bit disrespectful, but at the same time as well, Suning, they had a way better idea of how they needed to win this game. So it shows that they have the strength and knowledge, knowing what went wrong in game 1, and immediately fixed all of those mistakes going into game 2. Now the pressure is onto Rogue Warriors instead, where their the team will have to be like, okay, what went wrong here? How do we capitalize on it? And how do we take down Suning in game 3? And Hysterics, I have a question for you. Does this mean Rogue Warriors are not actually going to Worlds?
No. Rogue Warriors are still going to Worlds. Even if they lost this series, it would be 2-8, and technically they would need to win every single series just to get to 8. But, you know, you got to have faith. That's what it is to be either a Rogue Warriors fan or an appreciationist. There'll be no apologies here today. Wow, actually, there might be some apologies. Forge and ZDZ did no damage, so maybe we should apologize for that.
Oh, no. I mean, you could just see it. Betty was the only one able to get some damage down, and they just had nothing to play into there. I mean, the Zoe was blind. They had to counterpick with the Ryze. Did not work out for them. The Sett, it was fine in the laning phase. Honestly, the bot lane wasn't the biggest issue. They were just always put in by the aggression of Huanfeng, and they couldn't capitalize on it with Xiaohao on the Viego. The Lee Sin for SofM look way more comfortable on it, and then obviously Bin towards the top side always had Set's number.
Yeah, it was the same laning phase, but this time around, when the whole map is on fire, it is easy to fume the flames up in that top side. Bin again, the great performance. SofM on Lee Sin. We didn't get to see the Warmonks, guys. I'm so sorry. I know we wanted to get that out as the second or third item, but we'll have to wait another day. Nevertheless, though, I think, you know, props go to Angel on this Zoe, who had a very good laning phase, but more importantly, started abusing the deep vision set up by Suning and started abusing the angles around these objectives so that if Rogue Warriors walked in, they were caught out, as we saw on the bottom side Dragon Pit.
Yeah, you know, it started already going into the first skirmish where Huanfeng was forced to, not Huanfeng, but Xiaohao was forced to use his flash to get out of the way. There are so many summoner spells being burned. And Angel, he was able to steal the first scuttle. Remember that on the Zoe where he randomly stole a smite? Like the great champion that is, and just secured the scuttle. So SofM could get the lead on the top side scuttle and just get a lead like that. I mean, that was crazy what you can get out of a Zoe pick in the early game. And Angel, he used that to the utmost fullest potential.
But again, it was given priority through mid lane that equaled SofM getting priority himself. A word that will continue to repeat, folks, going into game 3. We're going to have a break, return, and see what happens between Rogue Warriors and Suning for the final game of the